In this video, we're looking at multiple days of severe weather that have continued to look worse over the past 48 hours, bringing multiple days of tornadoes, damaging winds, and a lot of rain. Before we get into this, go down below and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel. But anyways, let's get right into it. Now, starting off looking at the day 3 outlook, this is going to be for Friday, March 14th. We have a big risk for severe thunderstorms in that enhanced region from central Mississippi up there to southeastern Iowa. There's going to be a big line of storms with potential for supercells down here across the Mississippi Valley and the Ohio Valley as well. We're going to be seeing more of a line of storms across this area, while we see potential for supercells in this area and more of the Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky area is where you're seeing an increased chance for tornadoes. However, I do expect that tornado chance to continue northward up here. I think could be a good chance for some of those embedded tornadoes within the squall line. This slight risk goes far north here, even up to Wisconsin and Minnesota. You don't typically see severe weather up here in early March, so that's pretty rare up there. If we look at the probabilistic outlook, you can see we have that significant hatched area that covers the 30% chance area and also expands into Iowa. This is where your chance for significant severe weather is possible. We'll get those individual tornado, wind, and hail risks tomorrow for Friday, but this is what we have right now. Looking at the summary here, you could see a regional outbreak of severe storms is expected across much of the Mississippi Valley, eastward to the lower Ohio and Tennessee valleys late Friday afternoon into Saturday morning. Widespread damaging winds, several tornadoes, and hail all will be possible. Not only will extreme wind field favor damaging winds, but profiles will also favor supercells capable of fast-moving tornadoes. Whether a broken line or in QLCS fashion along surging outflows, the steep lapse rates and rapid changes overall will also support strong tornado potential interspersed with the damaging wind area. And also, up here in more of these northern risks for Friday, you could be seeing cells producing hail as you will be having more cold air aloft with those storms up there. So we will have the increased chance for hail as you go further north. Now, looking at the main day here for Saturday, this is what everyone's has been talking about. And this is looking like a serious day for severe weather. Probably could be the biggest severe weather day of the year already. And this risk goes from Louisiana over here, this main risk anyways, going into Georgia, pretty much covers the entire state of Alabama and goes into a little bit of Tennessee there. That's your main risk area for potential for significant, strong, long-lived tornadoes is what we are calling for right now. The ingredients are there and they are primed for these storms. It just depends on if these storms are going to be discrete supercells or if they're going to be messy. If they're going to be messy, we're going to see less tornadoes, because as those cells start to kind of eat up each other, it's going to disturb the tornado development cycle with some of those storms. However, if we do see discrete supercells, we are going to see some more long-lived, strong tornadoes within some of those areas across Mississippi and Alabama. This risk also goes further north into Lake Erie. You're going to see more damaging winds up here, like we saw over here in Missouri and Illinois. A lot of those tornado producing storms are going to be further south. However, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a tornado or two with this line of storms up here for Saturday. And for Sunday, the leftovers will be impacting the East Coast. These won't be as strong as Friday and Saturday, but still you could see some strong storms in there and maybe a tornado or two with kind of a messy line of storms impacting the East Coast on Sunday. Now, we are going to look at the future radar for Friday. We don't have much of a future radar yet for Saturday. Tomorrow we will get some more high resolution data, especially the HRRR. We'll be taking a look at tomorrow. But for Friday here, this is going to be about 2 p.m. Central Time, and these storms are going to be starting to fire around 2 to 3 p.m. on Friday and across the borders of Kansas and Missouri. It immediately starts off as a line of storms. There are going to be some cells that are going to be a little discrete at first near the Kansas City area, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of those do spin up a tornado with some of those ingredients. However, this quickly combines into a line once you get into around the 5 p.m., 6 p.m. range, and this will start to produce some pretty damaging winds. We're talking 70 miles per hour. I don't think this is going to be a extreme derecho or anything, but you will definitely see some damaging winds from this. It is going to become a little bit messy up here in the northern portion of this, and then once you get into around 6 p.m., 7 p.m., you're going to start to see some cells develop down here in the Arkansas, Missouri area, and this is going to be your main threat for tornadoes. This line is going to become a little bit messy down here as well, but still a little organized. But here's my concern is we're going to see some messy stuff ahead of this line, and that could be another chance for those tornadoes to become embedded within the line of storms. You're again seeing those cells, and this could be where most of the tornadoes will be for Friday. As you head to around 8 p.m., this is going to be starting to impact. This is starting to go over St. Louis here, now heading into more of the Springfield, Illinois area, getting closer to Peoria. You're still seeing these little cells down here, and these could either get mature and produce tornadoes or just kind of combine together and become a messy line. It really just depends. As you can see, this continues to head eastward, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some quick embedded tornadoes within this line of storms here. Yeah, NAM 3 kilometer model just doesn't have much developing down further south. We'll have to see with some more modeling later on. But again, this becomes kind of a messy line as you head later throughout the evening. This impacts the Champaign area, getting closer to Chicago. That's going to be around 10 or 11 p.m. there. And then overall, this storm is going to become more and more messy as you head throughout the night. This is going to be approaching Indianapolis by 12 a.m. With still some damaging winds. But that tornado threat is definitely going to go down. And the damaging winds are going to weaken as that becomes more messy as that goes over Indianapolis. As you can see, gets pretty messy there about 12 a.m. Now, looking at Saturday's threat, as you saw overnight, we had those storms on Friday, and this is now heading to Saturday now. This is 3 a.m. Saturday, and this is leftover storms from Friday. We are going to have some morning convection, a little bit going on here for Saturday. As you can see, still some convection kind of going on for Saturday. The question is here, is this going to clear out in time for some daytime heating for the atmosphere to kick up the energy? Because this isn't exactly what it's going to look like, but it's showing some sort of rain and convection on the morning of Saturday. And there's going to be some questions here on if that clears out in time, or this could be a potential bust. We're going to act like this isn't a bust, and as we move on, we're going to start to see storms developing as early as 12 p.m. across Louisiana and Mississippi. Throughout the afternoon, we're going to see some cells that start to develop in this area, and that's going to be your main threat for tornadoes is across southeastern Mississippi, going to central Alabama, where again we could be seeing long-tracked violent tornadoes is what we are calling for. As you head further north, you're going to see these storms become more messy, and not as you head further north, you're going to see a less tornado threat as those storms are messy. But as you can see, it's not very high resolution here, but you're seeing definitely a lot of potential cells, and the more discrete those are, the better for tornadoes. Tomorrow we will be going in more in depth on the future radar for Saturday. Again, this is modeling, so it's not going to look like this the day of, but we're getting an idea on where these storms are going to form. If we take a look at significant tornado parameters, this is the model that's kind of mixing up all the parameters for tornadoes and showing you the possibility for significant tornadoes. This is going to be the morning of Saturday, and it's already in the oranges and reds. This is about 3 to 5 on the parameter scale, so already you've got a big chance for significant tornadoes. As we move forward here, this is going to be rapidly increasing, getting up to 6 and 7 over here in eastern Louisiana. And then when these storms start to develop, it's going to be about 3 p.m. 3 p.m. to about 6 p.m. is going to be peak tornado time here. Those will deeply increase about 3 p.m. With those purples getting to 8 and 9s. which is very, very high. You can get up to 10, which is a teal color. We've seen that before on the channel. But these are very, very high values, and you only see this several times a year. Typically, you see these types of values in these types of conditions. This is going to be a very high tornado environment for some of these areas. Even these clusters of storms will have a good chance of producing tornadoes. They may not be as long lived, but all these areas will be having a big chance for tornadoes, especially down here in Mississippi and Alabama. That will continue here. As you can see, heads a little bit eastward as you head throughout the afternoon. And again, it's not as much, but still a very high chance for tornadoes over here, and that includes the Tuscaloosa, Birmingham area, southwestern Alabama. About 9 p.m. That tornado chance is still very high, and that moves eastward, as you can see there, about 12 a.m., and that's as far as this model goes. But you've got orange and reds in there, still a high chance for tornadoes for the overnight hours as it heads into Georgia. Looking at most unstable Cape and shear, so this is looking at Cape and shear values. Two of the most important things you need for tornadoes is Cape and shear. And looking at this, we're seeing a lot of greens here. This is a lot of energy for March. You're seeing 2,500 joules per kilogram with over 70 knots of shear in some of these areas. This goes as far north. You can see over 75 knots of shear there. And that is a lot of shear. Could produce some long track violent tornadoes if it's a discrete supercell. Over here you've got the same thing here. Let's head a little bit further. This is going to be 3 p.m. and you've got nearly 70 knots of shear in pretty much this entire area. You can take a sounding and you may not know what you're looking at here, but I mean, this is a textbook sounding for a strong tornado here. You've got the curved photograph right here. That's pretty much textbook for a tornado. The skew T isn't spectacular, but it's Dixie Alley, so you're not going to get any perfect skew T's in March. And again, a lot of shear for these storms. 2100 Cape there, and just overall a really perfect sounding for tornadoes there. You can look at the low level jet here, and this low level jet is going to be very strong heading into the afternoon. 3 p.m. you're going to see a low level jet speed of near 60 to 70 knots across these areas, and if you have a strong low level jet, that's going to be some very strong thunderstorms and some very strong tornadoes. As we've seen, we have the ingredients there. It's just been getting moisture on these model runs. With some of these dew points, you're seeing near 70 dew points down here in southern Mississippi. That's going to be the main area to worry about for those tornadoes going into more of central Alabama as well. These storms are going to have a ton of moisture, a ton of energy to work with. Not much cap as long as that morning convection doesn't bother it too much. But overall, this environment could be a big time environment for those tornadoes. So if you live in this general area, get those tornado plans in place. If you live in any of these areas that are in the severe thunderstorm risk, get those tornado plans in place, emergency kits. Know where you want to go if you are in a tornado. Most interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, underground if possible. Have multiple ways to get warnings. Make sure you have emergency alerts that enabled in your settings on your phone. Get a weather radio if possible, and don't rely on outdoor tornado sirens. Now, if you did like the video, hit that subscribe button down below. It supports the channel. Hit the like button as well. Share this video with anyone that might be impacted by these storms, and make sure to leave a comment down below with any questions. I'll be sure to answer them. But as always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.